This is a very important and a very interesting property to prove. A little confusing though. So let's try to understand this. Let's take a simple example, as we know that x plus something should give me 0, and this something itself is called as additive inverse. We just learned it from the previous videos. Alright, now this can be x plus minus x is 0. So minus x is called as the inverse of x. So I can write inverse of x is minus x. Is that wrong to write? Very simple, because inverse of x is minus x. That's why if you add x plus minus x, you get a 0. Let's take a number here to understand this. Let's take 2 plus something is 0. Now who is this something? The something is the inverse of 2. So I can write 2 plus minus 2 is 0. So I can write, yes, inverse of 2 is minus 2. Is that wrong to write like that? Not at all. So now, similar fashion, the same argument, I can write minus 2 plus something is 0. Now what is this? Yeah, this guy can be 2. Very simple. Now I can say here, I took this guy, so I wrote inverse of x is minus x, because with x I'm taking minus x, I'm getting an answer 0. So in this case, I'll take inverse of minus 2 is 2. Very simple. Why? With minus 2, if I'm adding 2, I'm getting a 0. So I can write inverse of minus 2 is 2. That's it. Right? So if I have to write it in more general terms, I can take minus x plus who would give you 0. So I can write minus x plus x gives me 0. So I can write inverse of minus x is x. Is that wrong? So let me write in English is x. That's all about it. Because we know that any number plus its inverse is 0. So all these 4 statements are right. Now let's write these two guys in terms of maths. I can write inverse of minus 2 can be written as is equal to 2. Not a problem. Correct? Let's do it here also. I can write inverse of x is equal to minus x. No problem. Sure. This guy is the same thing. Inverse of 2 is minus 2. I'm just writing is as equal to. That's it. Here in this case, again, inverse of minus x. This guy I can write equals as x. I'm just converting this statement in English into mathematics and see how we can prove this property. Very simple. In this case, can these guys be equal? See, if the left hand side is equal to right hand side, the only difference is x here. The inverse of x, inverse of, has to be negative according to this equation, right? So this whole thing has to take a minus sign. That's it. Minus x is equal to minus x. Now it makes sense. I just made this equation, which is in the form of words, into maths. I just converted this. Now this guy and this guy is equal only with a minus sign. Come back to this guy. So inverse of is minus of 2 is 2. Very simple, because these guys are satisfying this equation. And this equation is right. We understood this, right? Come back to this. Inverse of is what is the value of inverse of we took here? It is minus. See? This whole thing is minus. That's it. So can I write this guy as negative? Yes. And who is here? Minus 2. And that is equal to 2. That's all about. If these two guys are same, that's what my property is. Negative of negative x is x itself. In this case again, my inverse of is minus, and minus of x is x. So we understand the property very simply with 2 examples. I hope you understand this. It is also there in your textbooks. Try to understand, and we'll do some more problems based on this.